Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Very quickly, construction going in outside. Let's do our best to ignore it. First and foremost, for those who didn't get to listen in, I've had a few questions about this. I was on 2 radio programs last week, one talking about To the Bone and the other on Sunday night talking about the struggles that sufferers and survivors face when going through an eating disorder and dating, something I am far too familiar with. So if you haven't heard those and you want to, the links are at the What Mia Did Next Facebook page, which is in the description box below. But today I wanted to talk about something that came up a lot last week, and that is trigger warnings and who's responsible for people getting triggered when the content they're watching comes with a trigger warning. Obviously, To the Bone was a big jumping off point for this because there was a landslide of warnings which came in a bloated outrage sense from the media, which I thought was a bit over the top, as we know. It came from advocacy and sort of foundation outlets like the Butterfly Foundation and the NEDC and Beat. They all put out very comprehensive warnings for people who could potentially be triggered or upset by the content. And then there was a trigger warning before the actual movie itself, which I watched on Sunday morning. And as I said in my review video, the overwhelming response to the Bone was really, really positive. Even people who said, I was triggered by this, I think it was really important, I think it was well done, I think that it achieved a lot. There were people who said, I wasn't triggered by this at all, and I am a survivor and a sufferer, I thought I might be, but I think it accomplished a lot. And then there were people who said, this really triggered the hell out of me, but I wanted to be triggered by it. I was seeking it out to be triggered by it. And therein lies the problem for anybody who is trying to bring awareness to, I'm not going to say controversial because eating disorders are not controversial. They're too common, too deadly to be controversial. But to an issue that can essentially, just by talking about it, trigger a lot of sufferers. Now, I'm coming at this from a sufferer-survivor standpoint, as we know, but I'm also coming at it from an advocate and creator standpoint. As you guys know, some of my content is fairly triggering. In what I talk about, there's one video, probably the most watched video that I have, which has over 500,000 views, which is the photo that everyone with an eating disorder should see, which is chock full of trigger warnings. I think that I'm fairly careful and respectful and try to be as trigger-free as possible, or to be as comprehensive with my trigger warnings as I can be. And guess what, guys? It's still not enough. It's never enough. You could never do anything right with every single piece of content you put out there. It's absolutely impossible. Does that mean that we stop creating it? That was what really scared me about the conversation around this last week, was people almost implying, and I have actually seen a couple of people comment saying, I just don't think that movies like this should be made about mental illness at all, or that shows should be made about mental illness at all. Maybe even documentaries shouldn't be made because it never gets it perfectly right. That scares the living bejesus out of me, that our solution to, there's a percentage of viewers who are seeking out triggering material because it's a component of their illness to do that. The answer to that is to stop addressing it publicly in a creative or even a factual way altogether. How scary is that? My view is this. It is a very unfortunate component of the illness that we, as people who are struggling currently, not me, but I mean, you know, those out there who are eating disorder sufferers currently in their illness, some have a propensity to seek out triggering material. That is really unfortunate. Does that mean that we stop furthering the conversation with the illness that kills more people than any other mental illness? More people commit suicide from anorexia than depression and bipolar combined. Isn't that horrifying? That our people in our own community are saying that the answer to people getting triggered is to not talk about these things at all, when that's the state of our community's mortality rate. That scares the crap out of me, to be perfectly honest. As a creator, as an advocate, you are always having to strike a very, very delicate balance. You are trying to educate, engage, bring awareness to people in the general population who have no affiliation, no understanding, often very stigma-based, stereotypical views of what eating disorders are. You're trying to bring awareness to those people, to get them plugged into the conversation, to get them passionate about it, to make them see it is relevant to them, even just to educate them out of those stigmatized views that they have. And that's what the content in a lot of ways is trying to achieve. But of course, you're trying to acknowledge and empower people who are suffering from eating disorders, people who are in recovery from eating disorders. You're trying to speak to them, make them feel less alone, make them feel like they are validated and heard and represented. These are two things which are sometimes completely diametrically opposed. I don't think that the answer to trying not to trigger this group of people is to stop educating these people, because then we are letting the eating disorder win by suffering in silence as a collective group. Like, no, let's not talk about it at all. Let's not get to the point where people feel responsible for people who are suffering and put better support systems, better treatment, more accessible treatment in place, and put some preventative programs and measures out there to make sure that more people don't end up struggling with this illness. Let's not engage anyone or further that conversation or further this cause. That mathematics doesn't add up for me. If you are someone who is intentionally triggering yourself, who is self-sabotaging, who is looking for material to trigger themselves, that is a scary place to be. And as I always say, please seek help. If you can't seek long-term treatment, please seek a helpline, whether it's a general mental health helpline or a specific eating disorder helpline. When you have those urges, please talk that through with those resources that are provided. That is a scary level of self-sabotage. But I'm not going to give up creating. I'm not going to give up educating and advocating when I have met my responsibility. And I think that is probably the crux of my point. As a creator, the most that you can do is to warn those who could be negatively impacted. That's the extent of your responsibility. That is what people ask for, is trigger warnings. And guys, even when you are chock full of trigger warnings, even when you say 7 times in a video, there is something triggering coming, I will let you know right before it goes up. Even when the title has trigger warning in it, even when the description box has trigger warning in it, you will still receive emails telling you that you have triggered someone, that they are in the worst place they've been in months, which is baffling. Because as much as it's not your fault for looking, it's not my fault for having triggered you, because I have done everything I can. I have reached the limit of my responsibility in everything that I can do to alert people to the fact that there is triggering content within something that I am making. So no, I'm not saying that it's the blame of sufferers. I'm not saying it's the blame of those, or they are to blame. What I'm saying is the creator is not to blame. If they have gone to the extent that they have to warn you about the content of whatever they've created, to bring awareness, to educate, to get a message out there, to help further our collective cause, it's not their fault either. I think that's my point. And my point is also, no, we should not stop talking about this stuff. No, we should not stop putting visual representations out there. No, we should not stop educating people on what this is about, even if it makes people really uncomfortable. What we should be doing is furthering the cause so we can provide more resources and more help for those people who are intentionally going out and triggering themselves. And we can't do that if people don't give a shit about this cause, and people will not give a shit about this cause if we stop talking about it. That's my pre-work rant, guys. I'm going to head off to work now. I'm absolutely boiling, even though it's the middle of winter. It was like 22 degrees yesterday. What is happening? In other news, we've hit almost $7,000 on the donation page for my City to Surf run coming up in a couple of weeks. That is incredible. I am so grateful. If we could get it over the line to 7,000 and keep that number going up, I would be so incredibly thankful. I am training, I am working my butt off. I will be filming the day for you so you can come along with me on that run. Link to the donation pages in the description box below. I will see you guys in a couple of days with another video. Come and find me on Twitter and Instagram, Snapchat, under What Mia Did Next. Links in the description box below. Again, I'll see you guys soon. Much love. Take care. Bye.